Stop. Look at him for a second. You think you're looking at a movie star, a hero. The world fell in love with a myth. But what you're about to hear are documented facts that Hollywood has hidden for decades. Bruce Lee wasn't a master of peace. He was a man who committed biological suicide just to become a god. He didn't eat like a human. He drank mixtures of blended raw beef, blood and bone marrow, believing that cooking food killed its living energy. But even that wasn't enough. To achieve speeds the human eye couldn't track, he used industrial electric stimulators. He was literally electrocuting his nervous system, forcing his muscles to fire with high-voltage shocks. It wasn't discipline. It was a dangerous shortcut that was burning him from the inside out. He hated being human. To look perfect on camera, Bruce had his sweat glands surgically removed. He disabled his body's natural cooling system because he thought sweating looked unprofessional on screen. He traded his health for an aesthetic that would never age. And the biggest lie, 0. That is the number of his official professional fights. No championships, no belts. The man who taught the world how to fight never once stepped into a real ring. He wasn't an athlete. He was a street brawler fueled by rage and experimental chemicals, a weapon hiding behind a cinematic curtain. By the end, he was a ghost. His brain was swelling, his heart was failing. He didn't die of a headache. He died because the human machine couldn't survive the monster he had built inside it. Bruce Lee wasn't fake, but he definitely wasn't the hero you think. He was a warning of what happens when you decide to kill the man, to save the icon.
The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus.
July 20th, 1973, age 32, at the peak of his fame. Dead. The official cause, an allergic reaction to a painkiller. But here's what's strange. That explanation came after the original autopsy returned no clear answer. The coroner's initial verdict, death by misadventure. Then they changed their minds. Phase 1, the body he broke from the inside. Bruce Lee didn't just train, he experimented on himself. Industrial electrical muscle stimulators, devices used in 1970s hospitals for patient rehabilitation. He ran on himself for hours. Every single day, his body was rebuilding and destroying itself simultaneously. In the months before his death, his weight dropped to 128 pounds at 5 feet 7 inches. That's not lean muscle, that's depletion. In May 1973, 2 months before his death, he collapsed on set. Doctors diagnosed cerebral edema, brain swelling. He survived, he was surprised, and he went straight back to work. That was the rehearsal. Phase 2, the real cause of death, and why it should terrify you. In 2022, a group of nephrologists published a detailed analysis of his death in the Clinical Kidney Journal. Their conclusion, hyponatremia, critically low sodium levels caused by excess water intake. Bruce was drinking water by the liter, taking diuretics. His kidneys couldn't keep up. His brain literally began to swell inside his skull. He wasn't poisoned. He wasn't struck down. There was no conspiracy. He was killed by water. The man who controlled every single function of his body, destroyed by the one element he trusted completely. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a tragedy. Phase 3, what he already knew. This is the hardest part. Watch his final interviews. Really watch them. He talks about death. Not abstractly, not philosophically, personally. I don't know how much time I have. He was planning films decades into the future while simultaneously carrying himself like a man who sensed the end was near. His wife Linda would later say he knew something was wrong, he just wouldn't stop. Why? Because stopping, for Bruce Lee, meant ceasing to exist. Phase 4, Brandon, 20 years later, the set of The Crow. His son, 28 years old, nearly the same age his father was during his first collapse. A prop technician didn't check the barrel. A lodged bullet fragment plus a blank cartridge equaled a live shot. Brandon Lee died on the operating table. No curse, no dark mysticism, just negligence. Just a moment of carelessness that should never have happened. And that's precisely what makes it unbearable, because it didn't have to happen. Outro: Bruce Lee was not a god. He was a man who refused to believe that he wasn't. and that both his greatness and his death sentence is the same thing. We look at him and see an ideal, but if you look honestly, you see a warning about what happens when willpower overrides reason, when No Limits stops being a philosophy and becomes a cause of death. He transformed cinema, martial arts, and culture itself, and he paid for it with everything.